Good evening, Pine Cliffs. I am your host, Galen Good, and welcome to the Pine Cliffs Observer, watching them to keep you safe. Before we get into the news, listeners, I would like to apologize for the delay in our broadcasting. As you all know, during the event that occurred on July 4th, several buildings in our fair little town received severe structural damage. The radio station just finished growing back the missing rooms last week, and our new microphone finished growing this afternoon. Oh, and one last thing before I go into the news. Has anyone seen Thomas? Thomas, our station manager, has been missing since the 4th of July. If any of you see him, please call us here at the station and let us know. Now then, let's get into the news. Listeners, I know you are familiar with the local lake, Fluorescent Tarn. Well, local real estate mogul Amelia Maller purchased most of the land around the lake a few months back, and listeners, this is big news. She plans on building lake houses right here in Pine Cliffs. In fact, construction has already begun. Now, I know that to some of you this is an odd decision. For instance, there is the fact that Fluorescent Tarn, well, it glows. Not all the time, sure, but when something moves around in the water, it gives off that odd fluorescent glow. To this day, no one really knows what causes this phenomena, and some worry that the water might be toxic or even radioactive. Personally, I wouldn't worry about it. I've gone swimming there on multiple occasions, splashing around in the ever-changing fluorescent water, then stopping, looking down and seeing something different. Something massive. A huge glow, seemingly miles below my feet. It's so much fun, listeners. I can't recommend going to Fluorescent Tarn enough. Now, it's time for the traffic report. Several streets are still undrivable, covered in debris from whatever happened on July 4th. A few opened up just a couple hours ago. Veterans Boulevard, 3rd Street, and Butcher's Lane have all been cleared of debris and are now completely drivable. Now that traffic is finished, let's get back to the... I'm sorry. What's that, Elsa? Sorry, listeners, I sent out our new intern, Elsa Talbot, to check traffic for me. She says that there are roads leading out of Pine Cliffs. That is certainly interesting news, listeners. As far as I know, there have never been roads leading out of our little town. Interesting. We will report on that, listeners, as we learn more. Listeners, we are learning new details about the new lake houses. Each one is being built in that classic log cabin style. And apparently, Amelia's deluxe lake houses will have a kitchen, 2 bathrooms, 3 bedrooms, a living room with a fireplace, a pier giving direct access to the lake, and, most impressive of all, a lead-lined panic room with 3-foot-thick steel walls. That last one really is a surprise, listeners. It sounds like the one we have installed here at the station. Listeners, there is apparently some commotion at the lake. There's a glow, a massive glow, deep in the still waters. From the estimations I am receiving, whatever it is that's moving down there has to be at least 2, maybe 3,000 feet down. No one can be sure. Whatever it is that's down there is massive, though, and will likely take up a good portion of the lake if it surfaces. And surface it might, listeners, because our station's sources say that the glow is slowly getting brighter. Now then, time for this week's weather forecast. Sunday will be a bright, cloudless day, with temperatures expected to reach into the low 100s. Make sure you stay hydrated and wear some sunscreen, Pine Cliffs. Monday will be a cold, bitter day, as it always is. Temperatures are expected to reach roughly 25 degrees below zero. Make sure to wear plenty of layers and try to keep your pipes from bursting, Pine Cliffs. Tuesday through Friday. Are you kidding me? Do you really expect me to do this much work in 4 days? How stupid can this guy be? And that's not me talking Pine Cliffs. That's the forecast. Saturday will be partly cloudy, and the temperature is expected to reach the high 80s and low 90s. Sounds like the perfect day to go to the lake, Pine Cliffs. Alright, with the weather forecasts out of the way, let's get back to the news, Pine Cliffs. Well, Pine Cliffs, there certainly isn't any more news concerning the Fluorescent Tarn. Nope, no more news. The bright fluorescent glow in the water certainly did not grow steadily brighter until the thing in the lake surfaced. The thing that doesn't exist in the lake was not an indescribable horror, and did not drive the construction workers insane with its visage. The workers, who were not insane, did not walk slowly into the water towards the thing in the lake. Their movements, which did not occur, did not fail to make the water glow. The thing in the lake, which doesn't exist, did not sink back into the glowing depths, its own glow a little brighter, a little bit more than it was before. None of this happened. As I said, there is no news concerning Fluorescent Tarn. No news at all. I will say this much, listeners. I'm glad I didn't send Elsa to check out the construction of the lake houses. Sure, she would have been fine at first, but the recent sudden lack of news might have resulted in her leaving us at the station. Sorry, listeners, without Thomas being here at the moment, I almost forgot to do this. We'll be right back after a word from today's sponsor. Are you tired, listeners? Tired of life? Tired of living? Tired of having to deal with people whose views are so radically different from your own that you can never truly understand them? Are you tired, listeners? Well, for the next week, all of our tacos are half off. Taco Bell. Live Mas. Oh, listeners, I have more big news. I was just handed a piece of paper by a small child, wearing rags, fingerless gloves, and a burlap sack over its head. Clearly, this is a message from one Amelia Maller. Okay, let's see what this paper says. Oh, it's a statement. As several of you know, I purchased land surrounding Fluorescent Tarn 3 months ago. I'm going to build several lake houses on this land, and expect them to bring in hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, from wealthy tourists. However, I am currently experiencing a shortage of workers. Anyone would like to build some lake houses, please contact me immediately. My phone number can be found on the new billboard on the southbound road out of town. Payment is $100,000 per lake house per person, to be paid upon completion, and the work is totally, 100% completely safe. Well, listeners, it sounds like Amelia is hiring. And to be honest, the job doesn't sound half bad to me. $100,000 per lake house built? Personally, listeners, I'm almost considering signing up myself. Of course, I'd never do that. I mean, yeah, sure, the money's great. Amazing, even. Easily more than I make reporting the news. But the job isn't right for me. I was meant to announce, to report the news for you, to let you know what is happening in our fair little town, to provide information and maybe, time permitting, a little entertainment. Some of you listen to me at work, listening to what is happening in the world beyond the walls of your employment. Others listen to me while performing menial tasks, and I am just a soft, familiar hum in the background. Some of you listen to me as you drift into the embrace of sleep, a warm voice whispering into tired ears. For all of you, I perform some function, provide some kind of comfort. And listeners, I wouldn't have it any other way. Listeners, I'm looking at these security monitors. You know, the ones that Thomas put in here while the security room was being renovated. It looks like Elsa is back at the station, safe and sound. She's saying something, but I don't know what, listeners. Wait, she's writing something. She's holding up the paper to the camera. Oh, okay. Listeners, Elsa is done with field work for the day. I would like to know if she can start going over some of our old ad contracts. Sure, Elsa. No problem. They're in Thomas's office, in the filing cabinet on the west wall. Well, listeners, I don't think there will be any more news for today. And before I sign off, again, if anyone sees Thomas, please contact the station immediately. Next up on our airwaves, 4 hours of silence, occasionally pierced by a scream and a series of meaty thuds. This is Galen Good signing off. Until next time, Pine Cliffs. Until next time. This has been the Pine Cliffs Observer, written and narrated by myself, Kuholin96. If you haven't checked out Rainer Lewington, I recommend you do. He got me started on this, so it's kind of his fault now. If you like this, please like, favorites, comment, sacrifice, subscribe. I said subscribe. And, by the way, thanks for listening.